This episode of Reality Escape Pod is brought to you by Morty, Cogs by Clockwork Dog, Buzzshot, and Patreon supporters like you. Hey, escape room owners! Are you sick of trying to figure out the marketing puzzle? Buzzshot's got you covered. It's an all-in-one solution for powering business growth and improving the customer experience. They offer a ton of pre- and post-game features, including waiver management, creating incredible branded team photos, and streamlined review management for Yelp, TripAdvisor, Google Reviews, Facebook Reviews, and they offer integrations with Cogs and Morty.
One of the most important business lessons I learned from my father was that people do business with people that they like. And the guys at Buzzshot are two of the most likable people that I have encountered in business. We've been working with them for years on Reality Escape Pod and Reality Escape Convention, and they are super easy to work with. And that is something that I also hear from their customers. They're responsive, they're on top of things, and they are easy to work with. That kind of reliability is worth a lot, especially when your business is built on top of the software that they provide. That's my favorite part of Buzzshot.
And they listen to their customers. I know that a lot of their customers just asked for corporate bookings support, and they told me they had just created a feature called Event Manager. So I really like working with vendors who listen to my input. Streamline your marketing and grow your escape room business. REPOD listeners get an extended free trial and 20% off your first 3 months with no setup fees or hidden charges. Visit buzzshot.com/REPOD. That's REPOD to learn more.
Welcome to the Reality Escape Pod, your lifeline when you need a getaway from the real world. I'm David Spira, alongside my co-host, PG Law. Together, we're exploring immersive gaming from all angles, and we'll be joined by guests who really know their stuff. Today's guests are Derek Townsley and Curtis Ratliff, co-founders of the Escape Ventures in Orlando, Florida, where they have produced mechanically playful and beloved escape rooms. But their biggest distinction is that they have been making those wonderful games at an incredibly fast pace. Welcome, Derek and Curtis.
Hey guys, thanks for having us.
Hello. Glad to be here.
This is my first time seeing you face to face, and you both look so incredibly young for how prolific you've been at building escape rooms.
I needed to hear that, actually.
Yeah, we greatly appreciate hearing that. Our bodies definitely don't feel like we're holding down our age, but it's an adventure.
And you are young, and I see here that you both started working in escape rooms before you even graduated from college. So how did you find your way into this business?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was actually a mistake, invited by a friend to do an escape room with a Groupon. And for both of us, I think our immediate reaction was, wait, that's a real thing? You can do that in person? So I think the kind of excitement started there. We booked the game. We played the public experience with a very friendly family of equally enthusiastic players that had never done an escape room before. And that was just such a great experience that a couple months later, we booked another one with a Groupon as well for my birthday. And with that experience, we very quickly gained an opportunity where CJ actually got to work with the same company that we played. And that was about 4 or 5 months of working with them, working his way up to become a leader of that establishment. And I needed something that was going to make me more excited about work every day. And I was working at a fast food restaurant as a manager at the time. So the owners actually reached out to me separately from CJ because he didn't want to offer me a position. So we both got to work there, and we were there for about 8 months, just really meeting incredible enthusiasts, really still not knowing exactly what the potential was for the escape room industry, but we loved it. And I was pursuing a degree in design, specifically theatrical design, so scenic lighting. And then CJ was pursuing his business degree. And we very quickly were like, this could be something that we do. It definitely wasn't where we thought we were going to be. And it definitely wasn't why we pursued our degrees. But combining business and design, we were like, this could be something great. Going on 6 years later, here we are.
Since you both have only been working for a few years since graduation, I am really curious, how directly did your academic experience translate into the practical realities of running a business? How much was that gap?
Unfortunately for me, my business degree did not translate to escape room business.
Really?
I'm not shocked.
School was not it for me. Before Derek and I even graduated, we opened up Escape Ventures. So, realistically, I didn't even have my business degree until after I started my business. And it got to a point where I was able to go to every single one of my teachers and, in a way, tell them, hey, I don't have time for homework, so I can't do your homework. However, if I pass your tests, will you guys pass me in the class? And every single teacher made that happen for me. So did I graduate with the most glorious GPA ever? Absolutely not. But I got the piece of paper, and 99.9% of everything I've learned business-wise for both Escape Ventures or the other businesses that we own now has came from just doing it, making a mistake, paying for the mistake, and that revolving circle of, okay, I made the mistake, I understand it, and now I can learn from it and apply it. And I think that's what a lot of business is it is a revolving door of similar situations and understanding how to approach them. And for Derek, I'll let you answer your part.
I'd say my immediate answer is no. A lot of my degree was working in a shop and building sets, working with designers, being in design meetings, a lot of just design workshopping and like color theory. So as far as like business application, no. But I will say, like, when it comes to obviously building immersive worlds, there's a lot of application that I can build on there.
This is very much in line with what my expectation was, but I figured I had to ask.
What made you decide to start the business while you were in college, to tackle the business head on while you were in school and not maybe waiting until after you graduated?
So the approach was very weird. We did have a very awful night at this venue that we worked at. And if they see this and they understand we're talking about them, we're so sorry. But it was just Derek and I for a full double shift, 5 experiences running. And both of us not only ran every single experience, but reset it, answered emails, answered phone calls, got 5-star reviews. And it was a sold out day where every single hour was booked. Derek was running every single game. I was walking guests back, resetting the rooms, walking guests forward. And we didn't get a thank you. We didn't get anything from the owners, actually. It was a phone call the next day saying, hey, can you guys do it again? We're not going to make it.
Well, to also build on that, it was just for an understanding, it was a Friday night. And the fact that we were normally like 3 people operationally in the back office with 1 front of house staff member, it was severely understaffed. So I think it was less about like a thank you and more about, hey, sorry guys, like at the end of the day, you guys killed it with reviews, great experiences. We really appreciate what you did. And I think it was more so just, we're not getting the satisfaction out of what we're doing here, out of what we think we could bring to this. And obviously, not to name drop that venue, it was just like a location in Orlando that is still known to be probably one of the lower standing in the area. So there was just so much potential. We really just had ambition. And I think our time was like, we don't want to sit here. We want to start creating. I would definitely say that at the end of the day, what really said, hey guys, you need to start tackling this was communication with other venues, going out, introducing ourselves and saying, hey guys, we are very new to this industry. We work alongside it, but for us, we definitely want to start. So what is the advice? And kind of starting those conversations. A lot of the conversation was in Orange County, working with the theme parks. You're going to have a long time dealing with the county. I think at the end of the day, it was like, we want to start it. And that for us at that time was like jumping into designing games, building space, opening our doors. But realistically, it was like, we still have about a year to a year and a half of just permitting that we have to begin, starting that process sooner rather than later.
And of course, not forgetting our start is my grandparents. We call them Nana and Poppy. they've been there since the beginning. They saw everything we were doing, and they saw the work that we did and the designs we were putting out with other small little projects for like the opening of the It movie. And Disney contacted that company and they let us design and run experiences for the Disney's HR team, Coca-Cola, stuff like that. So my grandparents saw that, and they actually approached us saying, hey, we see what you guys are doing. Is this something that you'd also like to do on your own? And they were a huge contributor of that, both financially, and my Nana has ran businesses her whole life. So it was also a good mentor to step back on. She was able to guide us.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thanks, Nana and Poppy.
That's amazing. And we're going to come back around to her later.
Cool.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about your games. Let's give people a sense of what it is you're doing. Bros for Life Fraternity Heist really put you on the map as one of the must-visit escape room companies in Orlando. Tell us a bit about this game and what your intent was behind it.
It wasn't always Bros for Life Fraternity Heist. It used to be called The Final. And you had to break into your professor's classroom and steal the cheat sheet to win your test. We were doing a spot next to UCF. So we said, well, we need something school related. And The Final just isn't cutting it. That sounds really boring. We want to do something extra. And then one day, Derek messaged me, Curtis, I have it. And he went down this whole Bros for Life Fraternity Heist thing.
The title itself actually sparked from sitting in my sound design class. And I was literally in the middle of class. And I kid you not, I was like, we need something more exciting with a title maybe that can just like draw inspiration. And while I was sitting there and I was talking with my best friend, I was like, Bros for Life Fraternity Heist. And she was like, what? Because we were in the middle of a lecture. And I was like, Bros for Life Fraternity Heist. I think this is it. Heist. It's like a twist on a heist. So it's a typical S theme and put a twist on it. And I was like, we have the university. I was like, I feel like this meets our needs. And I just messaged CJ and he was like, I don't know if anyone's going to book a fraternity game. And I was like, you're absolutely right, but let's alter this story. And I'm like so inspired by this new name that I was like, we can take this and we can make it so much better because we are gay men. Our first thought, I think, always when people bring up Bros, it's like, why was that the first game that we would have designed? That was never something that would ever cross my mind. And I was like, it wasn't. It was The Final, technically. But before that, even there was a previous design that came first. But Bros was like the first game that made our name, right? So I think it was, we can be campy with it. We don't have to take it seriously. Therefore, hopefully our guests don't take it seriously. And with that, taking a typical theme of a heist and flipping it on its head to make it a fraternity style, we can play with that in puzzles, different props that you can find throughout the experience. And I think the funny thing is like, you're there to break in and tag up the school in the name of the Escapi fraternity. Escapi. It's a little joke that we make, escape. But that's kind of the goal. So along the way, you're there tagging it. You're leaving your mark. You're leaving Escapi up there. There's inspiration from beer pong to spray painting and tagging it up. We also are going to leave our mark with the Escapi fraternity flag. So there's a lot of fun things that was like puzzle after puzzle. I was like, oh, CJ, oh, CJ, oh, CJ. And I think along the way, everyone kind of was just, I don't know, you're the designer. So at that time, it was only my say. And I was like, I feel inspired, guys. Just trust the process and we'll get there. So I think it was a lot of risk taking and like it really paid off. And we always say we are thankful for the pandemic because we are opening our doors in line with the pandemic.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we originally opened 3 weeks prior to with a 45-minute pop-up Christmas experience, and we were still building out Bros. So on paper, I had it where I wanted it to be, but working for 2 years almost, putting quadruple what our original budget was into this business, we were like, we got to get it open quick. And we're going to have to cut some corners. And because of the pandemic, that was ultimately a decision maker that said, we have to close our doors anyway. Let's take this extra time to really make it what it was. So we even altered the ending. We cut a hole in the wall to change a whole different ending that was originally written to make it grander. So all things considered, it was like we were just taking risks. We were going with the flow. And we are so incredibly blessed with what Bros has done for us. and the pandemic of really just giving us the opportunity to make it what we wanted it to be.
Still almost went bankrupt though. Bros was not enough, but until then it got popular, but it took a second because no one wanted to book a fraternity game.
Yes, it did take a minute, but I think it also didn't help that we were a new location.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people on the Room Escape Artist team who kept telling me, you need to play Bros for Life. And none of them were the kinds of people that I ever expected to hear say the words you need to play this fraternity heist game. So when we went, I had a pretty good sense that it wasn't exactly what the name sounded like, but also the name sounds really good. I do think you're right. There's something about the fraternity and heist, Bros and Life. They sound good together.
Mm-hmm.
You know why it sounds good, David? Because this is a classic Shakespearean couplet. It is in iambic pentameter, and it has a slant rhyme at the end.
That's exactly what I was going for.
I mean, I'm going to take your word for it because, as we all know, I don't hear rhymes.
Yes. David doesn't know what a rhyme sounds like. This is a true fact.
Oh?
Well, the more you know.
Well, I mean, who rhymes life and heist? It's like the weirdest thing, you know? So that in itself, maybe.
I was an English lit major, and I've also never used my degree for anything. And I'm glad to know that it finally came through for me in this podcast episode.
Season 8.
There you go.
If you've never read the Room Escape Artist review of Bros for Life Fraternity Heist,
It's so good.
Teresa Wagner had a very good time, kind of like the game, walking that line between taking it very seriously and taking it not seriously at all.
We love to read it. When that came out, I was like, they got the vibe.
We're taking a moment to thank our sponsor, Morty. Morty is a free app for discovering, booking, tracking, and reviewing escape rooms, haunts, and other immersive social outings. Morty is available for all to use on its fantastic website experience, iPhone and Android apps. I believe in Morty so much that I have a stake in it as an advisor.
I already talked in a previous ad about how I use Morty, but David, what are your favorite ways to use Morty?
So I've mentioned before, I have Lisa, who is the greatest escape room booker on the planet. But even still, I have a lot of uses for Morty. My number one use is just to keep track of a wish list. Every time someone mentions a game to me that I should play, straight into Morty, add it right to my wish list. And people recommend a lot of games to me, often in places that I might not visit for years, maybe might never even get to, but I have that record. I also love to take a look and see what games are hot in Morty, but people aren't talking about. And those are the kinds of games that I tend to go and throw onto our booking list when we travel. It's also fun just to see what's up and coming in my own area. What are other people appreciating?
I literally booked 3 games because, first of all, they came up in the sponsored ads in Morty, but I saw that they all had great reviews, and I was like, I haven't even heard of these games. Gotta go check them out. And I did, and they were all great.
Love it. Yeah, and that's what's great, is it makes finding hidden gems a little bit easier. You can learn more at morty.app/repod. That's REPOD to sign up and get a special badge for our listeners. Link and details in the show notes. My current favorite of your games, at least of the ones that I have played, is The Neighborhood Watcher. I'm a big fan, which is a very unusual actor-driven game that I understand can have very different vibes depending upon how the actor reads the room and reads the needs of the team. What were you striving for with this game? Because it is super strange.
Do you want the business answer or the artistic answer?
Yes, give it all to me.
Business answer was Arctic was kicking our butts. Arctic was really kicking our butts.
I can see that, and we will get to Arctic in a moment.
We needed a new game by the holiday season. And at this time, we were doing okay. We weren't struggling like we were. We've built a name for us. People were coming to play us, which is awesome. Incredibly grateful for that. However, from the business side of things, it had been a minute before we opened a game. We opened up our consultation firm, which took a little bit of time away from the Escape Ventures. So we were like, we need to come back to Escape Ventures and open something. And we got into the Arctic build, and the game got bigger, Derek kept taking away parts of the space that was Neighborhood Watcher and adding it to Arctic. So Neighborhood Watcher got smaller and Arctic got bigger, and we kept adding more to it. And it was Derek's baby. It was Derek's new baby. So I was like, okay, I get that. And I sat him down and I said, here's our budget right now. See this negative number? We're over. And I said, we need to do something quick and fast for the holidays. And he said, fine. And we just had a powwow. And this is when we brought on our general manager, John, who's actually, he's becoming
an essential part of our business.
He's incredible. And he's starting to become more of the face for our local market, which we're incredibly grateful for. Once again, he really takes care of Escape Ventures.
And to also throw in his wife, Lee, one of our very first escape room game master hires. They're part of the creative team and inspiration for what Neighborhood Watcher has become.
So we actually designed that experience with them. So it was a really quick powwow of, we don't have the budget for a grand game, and we don't have the time for super, super strict details. We have to be a little bit flexible with this one. What can we do? And they were all able to get together at the same time that Jeffrey Dahmer was coming out. The movie Black Phone came out, and we went down that rabbit hole of, well, if we follow this,
the true crime thing.
It works.
In pop culture,
it works. So from the business side, I said we got 30 days, and we did it in like 45 days from start to finish. So still pretty good. Great business move.
Sorry, how many days?
It was roughly like 45.
Yeah, it was just under a month and a half from initial. And to take it back a little bit, Lee and John wrote a detailed storyline for a sleepover experience. And that was essentially what it was. It was titled The Sleepover, working title, working story. Everything was proposed originally by them. And we took it. And at that point, they brought it to us and we sat down. I think the whole design process took about a week. And it was from their original concept to us working through storylines and what characters could be involved in the story, because we were still tiptoeing around introducing an actor and having an actor an integral part of a story development, and especially having them in the room. So that kind of sparked the conversation of, okay, well, where are we at? What's the time period? Of course, answering all those important design questions. Okay, who are these characters and what is their role in the puzzle flow? And obviously, what is our end objective? Not to spoil too much with the storyline, but you're invited over for a sleepover, right? And a lot of the fun part of the design for Neighborhood Watcher came from the psychology of being a child. It is a much more intense experience, and we try to not answer too many questions and let the players decide for themselves what's happening.
Yeah, and I'm not going to push you on it.
Yeah. But a lot of that kind of setup, we have two characters. We have one outside of the experience, and we also have one that is inside the experience.
Same person, though.
Typically, if we have a slower day, we will stretch it out to even have 3 people be involved in the experience. Spoilers on that I will avoid. But with that, it is a balance of, there's a parent that is out looking for missing kids, and you are invited to the neighborhood watch leader's house as a sleepover for all the kids in the neighborhood while the parents are out looking, right? So the parent is the one sending you off. They tell you that the sleepover is at a green door, and that's where you're supposed to be. When you show up at that green door, things go a little awry, and that's when the story unfolds. And from that point, when the parent gives you over essentially to the in-room actor, which is Mr. or Mrs. Carey, they are the ones that now guide the story. And the weird part about it that was a fun understanding when we were developing was, when you're a child, you're basically on your own, right? To figure things out and learn. But of course, you're always relying on an adult, a parent, someone to guide you. So when you're in that experience, much like a player is, you rely on your game host. There's the psychology where you're kind of vulnerable and susceptible to the knowledge of what your parent, your game host, your Mr. or Mrs. Carey is going to tell you, right? There's a lot of allowing yourself to be in the experience and really just succumb to that environment, succumb to the direction of the game host's actors. And that really allows us to have fun with that story.
And if you haven't played yet and you go to play, my advice is, when you go play Neighborhood Watcher, just be a kid.
So we, the players, are cast in the role of a child, right?
Yes, in essence.
That is really smart for a few reasons, because if you're a newbie to escape rooms, you've never played one before, you can go in with, you're not an FBI agent that's supposed to know everything. You're a kid that knows nothing. So it's okay to be confused by what's going on, right? As new people certainly will be when they walk into an escape room for the first time. But also, if you're an experienced enthusiast, there's something really joyful about being a kid. And enthusiasts know we go to escape rooms because we want to unleash, we want to tap into that inner child. And so this is also giving permission to that. So I think that's a really cool choice.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. All of our storylines have you cast as a character, and it's ultimately up to the guests to decide if they want to really allow themselves to succumb to that, or if they want to put up a fight and put up that enthusiast mindset that is, I'm here to beat a record.
That's the thing too, is even though yes, we cast them as a character, I myself don't like playing as anyone else but myself. I like just being Curtis in the game. But I think the way we tell guests to be someone, it's they're still themselves, but this is the environment. So act as you would.
You're just baby Curtis.
Just a baby, exactly. So that's really important for us. And nostalgia. We love nostalgia.
Before we move on from Neighborhood Watcher, I really have to admire the speed with which you worked. I think y'all work very quickly in general, but 45 days to make a game of that uniqueness and quality is really impressive. And it makes sense when you describe it, because the set is appropriate, but it is not a very set or props forward experience. It really does center on that game master performer.
Absolutely.
And they carry a lot of weight, but I'm just in awe of the speed for that turnaround and the level of quality.
I have to give credit fully to our team, because even though CJ and I started, the two of us, with one of my best friends in college, we've grown to now have an entire team behind us. And the fact that we're now 3 locations in, we still work with our consultation company, working with other venues now globally, which is amazing to say. It's all because of our team, our game hosts creating those experiences, really having fun with that character in Neighborhood specifically. What Carrie was written to be is now completely beyond the page due to what they've been able to have fun with. And I can also appreciate the fact that they always, whenever we're by the store, I hear them training, and I'll hear specific things that are this is a Derek detail, is what we call it, is anything that's not necessarily something that a first-time player would understand, but an enthusiast would appreciate. Derek designed it this way, so this is why we do it. Those things I can appreciate, and I will always say thank you for. But the amount of things that go beyond just what was told to them, that they just have fun with, and creating characters, really being in the moment with your guests, reading the group that you have, and just getting inspired beyond that is incredible. And of course, our now growing carpentry team, we have our graphic designers. All these team members started out as game hosts, and they've expressed interest in creating the Escape Ventures brand and expanding that seriously, so much thank you goes out to our general manager, our entire team, all of our graphic artists.
We're going to come around to the team.
Great. We have so much to say.
Do you want to integrate tech into your game but don't really know where to start? Are you looking to take your experience to the next level with theatrical lighting and sound cues? Cogs by Clockwork Dog is an easy-to-use platform that will automate your escape room and immersive events. Their plug-and-play hardware works seamlessly with their software, so you can create a game with high-tech puzzles that will reliably trigger, complete with sound and lighting effects. Whether you're an absolute beginner or a seasoned pro, Cogs has a solution for you.
Cogs allows for connections with MIDI instruments like keyboards and drum pads to serve as inputs, allowing you to assign custom sounds or actions. This is really great because MIDI controllers are super durable. They're great for escape rooms, and you can just buy them off the shelf and make them into whatever you want to do. Just get whatever DJ equipment you need, or switches and buttons, start building them into puzzles. It works so well. Additionally, you can use OSC to enable communication with lighting and sound desks. as well as software like QLab for all the theater-minded folks out there. There are so many different protocols that you can integrate with, and this is why COGS is beloved by people who came into escape rooms with a tech background.
REPOD listeners get 50% off the COGS starter set, plus free shipping to the US. Use code REPOD at checkout. That's REPOD. For any questions about using COGS or integrating tech into your escape rooms, make sure to join the vibrant community of creators on their Discord server. Learn more and start designing your game using their free tutorial by visiting cogs.show. Link and details in the show notes.
Operation Arctic Storm: The Final Meltdown is arguably your most popular game and certainly your most ambitious.
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn producing at a substantially larger scale?
Well, I'll say with any design or any concept, definitely taking things beyond the paper is something great, and being in space. Ambition is the key word with Arctic, because at that point, our biggest experience was Bros for Life, and that was about 300 square feet. And Operation Arctic Storm is about 800. So we've almost doubled that space, right? And I think with a lot of consideration for where an environment is chosen for a location of an escape room and going alongside your theme, it's all about taking a guest through something that they haven't experienced before, or at least taking them through a different iteration of something that they've seen before, you know? So with Arctic, the team says that Arctic is my baby, because Arctic scenically is everything that I wanted out of an escape room experience that we were able to create. That it just started out as something so much smaller, but being in space, doing research, understanding also with an Arctic Storm experience that's located in an Arctic research center. We wanted some of that research, but we wanted to balance the research with the fun. So equally scenically ambitious, it was also about being puzzly ambitious.
I have to be honest with you. I Google image searched Arctic research stations after playing because I had no idea what they were supposed to look like. And I was really stunned by just how real the photos looked relative to reality.
That's so great to hear. I mean, with any experience, I'm a scenic designer, and I most of the time will handle the puzzle design. Obviously, we have additional team members that creatively work with us, but all of our theme choices, all of our puzzle choices are inspired by realistic environments. And being a scenic designer, and that is where I got my start, that's where I built most of my education. I needed that understanding to feel okay and like satisfied with anything that we do. We really take immersion to be our core value when it comes to creating an experience. Mm-hmm. It's funny because when we first walked through Operation Arctic Storm, and the first and second room, there's a sort of vibe to that experience and kind of the aesthetics of the space that feel immersive if you do your research afterwards. But in the moment, it may be a little surprising, especially at that time for our brand. It was a lot of kind of finished interior spaces that when there's exposed 2x2s that are not stained, not polished, like beyond just sanding for safety, like a lot of it is meant to look unfinished because that's the way it's meant to look. So taking an immersive world is so much more beyond just like the polish. It needs to feel tangible, it needs to feel accessible, and it needs to feel, for that in particular space, it's a research space that's also functioning as a living space. So that was the balance going into that. But our team walked through it, and I remember one of our first questions from one of our very first team members that's been with us along through all the build outs. She was like, so this is going to get like a wall, or we're going to like hang something up to cover? I'm like, nope, this is what it is. And I pulled up some research images, and I was like, this is kind of the inspiration. This is the look that we're going for. This is the reason behind this choice. She was like, wow, this is crazy. I would have never thought that, but it totally makes sense.
That was exactly my reaction. I wouldn't have Google image searched it if I wasn't curious how close to reality you got, because the game as you presented it was so far from anything that I had ever seen before that I was really curious if that was drawing on real life or something that you had imagined. And if you had imagined it, I think that might have also been even wilder.
So, neither David nor I have played your latest games in your new Port Charlotte venue, but I do know that those games were made with remarkable speed, and Room Escape artist reviewer Matthew Stein loved them. What can you share about these new games?
When we chose to do Port Charlotte, we have family that lives down there. So it is nice to be closer to our family. So that was one thing we said, okay, we'll have a location close to our family. For the experiences, we originally were actually going to cut back, and not on the immersiveness, but on the size and how we wanted to build the games. And when we got into the space, I don't know what happened, but we said, nah, we're going to go even harder for these ones. Phantom Files, still to this day, is the most favorite game that I've ever designed and built with Derek. It is a gorgeous game. And when we decided to open it, we really wanted to give Port Charlotte and really Southwest Florida something very different, something that you would experience in Orlando. So bring Orlando down to little old Port Charlotte is what we like to say. And we had so much fun with Phantom Files. And while, yes, we built it extremely fast and it is a little smaller than Arctic, so we started with a bang in Port Charlotte, it was a beautiful experience that ended, and awful building, but beautiful at the end of it. So for Click and Glitch, which we started the day after Phantom Files opened, we had a ton of fun with. And we actually just sat down with our graphic design and graphic lead. And we reminisce about how fun it was to actually develop Click and Glitch Arcade Palace with the custom characters, all the crazy colors. The actor integration is so fun. It is a lot of fun. And then ending it with Nightfall, which is our thriller camping experience. And it is now outproducing the other two games, which is funny because we built that game the quickest and for the cheapest. And that's not a negative term at all, but in general, it was a more outsidesy, woodsy camping game that we went very camp with the camp. So ton of fun, and people fell in love with the characters we developed for that game and the environments we put into it. So overall, when I look at all of our stores, opening Orlando from scratch, in my opinion, when I look at Port Charlotte, I think we stepped it up another level with the immersion, what we've learned, and we've learned everything ourselves. I do all the tech, the sound, the lighting, the programming with help from our team. And if we could only go back to Bros for Life now, oh, it would be such a different game.
Knowing what we know.
How quickly did you build Port Charlotte from the moment you got the keys to the building until the moment all three games were open?
So it's hard because we got the keys to the building and we ran through the same issue with Orlando. The county did not like us. So once again in Port Charlotte, we did almost have to wait another 2 years before opening. Womp womp.
Okay.
So
how much build time went into each of those three games? Because it felt to me like they were just popping up out of nowhere at an incredible pace.
We pride ourselves on our speed. We will always strive to produce the next best. However, for us, that can internally mean next best for us. Mm-hmm. And I'd say above anything else, we are so proud of how quickly we continue to turn things out. So when one game is in final looks and lighting and show running and testing and training with our teams, we're tip-tapping away and creating the design for the next one. So from the moment we stepped foot in the building, it was the second week of May of 2023 until May of 2024 this past year. That was the whole build out for three experiences, and including a themed lobby that we did have that a part of Port Charlotte's experience down there. From the moment we got in those doors to the moment we said, okay, Port Charlotte's done, it was a full year.
Wow.
And that was building that entire time.
So let's talk about how you build, because you're doing a lot of very cool things very quickly. What is the approach to all this?
We get asked that actually a lot about how our process works with going so quickly.
I'm not surprised you get asked that a lot because most escape room designers are slow.
And Derek would be slower if I let him. Don't get me wrong. I'm just kidding.
I would be.
I'm not kidding, actually. We do a lot of work on paper. We really do a lot. As soon as we have an idea for an experience, Google Drive folder started with a name, quotation marks, and then we'll just powwow the weirdest ideas, puzzles, characters, story, and we just jumble it all together. And that's usually the first week, give or take. And then after that, Derek's like, all right, I just need to compile all this information. Don't talk to me for 48 hours and we'll figure something out. And then by the time he goes through it, he's usually thinking of a layout of how the space could work. We look at the existing space where we're able to add walls, take away walls, whatever we would really need to do. And then he creates some kind of floor plan for us to follow. And then we usually go into the room and blue tape that floor, go through everything. We do walkthrough, we take notes. I give my critiques, he gives his critiques. It's usually a day of that. And as soon as that day is over, my brother, who we hired 2 years ago, Derek goes, all right, Austin, time to start framing. And we just start framing. And as soon as framing is done, I do all the wiring, which this is where we argue, because before wiring can be done, tech puzzles have to be done. And so it's a lot of going back and forth. But even though we argue, and our lovely team at Escape Ventures will tell you mom and dad like to fight a lot, we work very well together in that we share the same end goal. It's just how we get there is a little different. It's a really fast process. We want to build even bigger games, twice as fast. If you could see what's coming to Orlando next, it'd be crazy. But there are times where we do have to take a step back and be like, hold on. Literally in this past year, we opened Nightfall, Click and Glitch, Phantom Files.
We have 3 consultation projects that opened this past year.
We opened a Western game. We have another one on iDrive opening soon.
Doomsday also opened this year.
Doomsday Disaster, new escape room acquisition.
So in terms of timeline and how it all works, I can't answer. I don't know how it all works. Mm-hmm. On paper, it shouldn't, but it just somehow does. And I think the key is I start taking notes on my phone. Click and Glitch Arcade Palace, that title, the working title, was sitting on my phone for probably about 3 years. Operation Arctic Storm was the very first game I ever touched. Before Bros, even though it opened 3 years after Bros, it was the first game on paper I ever started. So things are technically always in design mode. I have one list. If anyone gets the password to my phone, we're screwed. But all of the working titles, all of the just themes that's detailed with puzzles and then also rooms. So what puzzle could fit in this room? And from there, it's constantly working. Neighborhood, Ownage, Nightfall. Most of our projects don't happen out of the blue. They're normally in the works, but those 3 specifically are kind of like, these are the constraints. This is what we want to work with now. And it's normally like, okay, Derek, here you go. Start tackling it. So a lot of it, I think at the end of the day, does fall on me. There's an expectation of, in order for all of this to work and everyone to do their part, it ultimately falls on me to be prepared to answer the question, know exactly the page of what wall is going to go where, what puzzle is going to go here, what tech instrument we're going to need, consoles, anything that we need to order ahead of time, that it's so much planning and it's so much also just like knowing 90% and allowing for 10% in the moment decision making to know what's going to work. Because I think the toughest part of what we do is everything that we do is new. Every product that we produce is new. We haven't reproduced much of anything yet that it's trial and error. It's being ambitious. It's taking risks and also saying what's going to be the next big thing that's going to make Escape Ventures stand out.
So to answer your question, we don't know.
So you're planning, you're budgeting, you're project managing, and you're holding yourselves accountable to timelines.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
yes. Artists don't work well with timelines.
Oh, I'm aware. I am surrounded in Room Escape artists by project managers who are constantly helping and colliding into me.
Mm-hmm. And hindering, helping and hindering.
We try to do something new every 3 months. That is always our goal, is 3 months new, 3 months new. If it's longer than 3 months, we're sweating because we're like, people are going to forget about us. We have to keep going.
If it's longer than 3 months, most likely it's either the biggest project we've done, which is happening soon, or we're also tackling another project with another company. As of right now, we have a consultation project. We took on a scapegoat to open Escape Ventures Winter Garden. And we also are designing 2 additional games for both of our existing locations.
So I feel like it must take a pretty large team to keep up with this crazy rate of build. So how many people do you have on your build team?
We just hired our second.
Stop it.
Yeah, we just hired our second.
I was David's eyes going wet. I was our original carpenter. Up until halfway through of Arctic and the start of Neighborhood, I was essentially it. along with one of our good friends that's been assisting more part-time. But essentially it was me. And now I can take more of a design role, and we have one main carpenter that takes the designs and puts up all the scenery. We build from the walls up. So like we put in fresh walls, we put in fresh facing. He handles basically all the scenery, and then any extra team members that we can. And alongside myself, we'll do any finishings in the space, set dressing, prop fabrication. There's a good balance of all that. And to give him fully credit, it's CJ's brother, and he works just as hard as we do, working those long hours, expectation that we're going to be going pretty much 6 to 7 days a week. Essentially, it was on him. And up until this past month, it was just him, CJ, and myself as our main team, build team, alongside graphic designers and such. But that was our build team.
Are there any skill sets that you have to hire out for, or anything that you feel like you still want to develop?
Voice acting. We love hiring freelance voice actors. It is so much fun bringing in people who don't know exactly the character that we're going for, but see them give us takes is so much fun. And working with them back and forth with scripts and changing their dialects is a ton of fun. And animators. So for Arctic in the Storm Vehicle, that is a custom-made animation when you win the game. And we worked with a game designer who was laid off, and he messaged us saying that he's just looking for work. And I said, okay, he's a video game designer by trade. So he said, let's give it a shot. Those kind of projects we definitely like to outsource for, because we don't do them frequently enough to have someone in-house really do them. But if you ever play Click and Glitch, you too. Kylan did do all the animations for Click and Glitch, but it's pixels. So it's more like picture overlay, like do, 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 do. Ton of
very fitting to the experience, but it wasn't necessarily what we were doing in Arctic at that time.
And then I do all of the technical aspects of the experiences, so technical design with sound and lighting. However, our general manager, John, has been incredible in being able to take care of some of that, but I usually start it, and then I can usually hand it off to John to fill in if he's not managing stores or taking care of some other things that we need fixed. When it comes to outsourcing everything else, I think those are really it. Everything else we try to do in-house, from building our doors to figuring out how to make this puzzle work non-traditionally. Yeah.
As I understand it, you also build modularly so that you can move games or even box them up and sell them after you're ready to retire them from your own locations. Is that correct?
It depends on the product for sure. For instance, technically, all of our games we produce, they're for sale. You're more than welcome to approach us and ask us.
Game as showroom.
Yeah, we have 60-minute iterations of Arctic, 60-minute iterations of Phantom Files. We're super flexible, and we really strive to just make the industry keep getting it better. Escape rooms are still such a new thing. There's a lot of growth and a lot of change that's going to be happening over the next 5 to 10 years, even from now. So yes, we have clients that we have learned and taught them how to build in the setting of, if you build this 4x8 section with this puzzle, you can hypothetically pick it up and ship it. Outage is pretty much built like that at Escape Ventures. Arctic, no, never. Phantom Files, so much crown molding and trim.
I would say modularly at our locations, no. Everything is pretty much built to fit that location, and we finish it as best we can, that it's not, most likely not going to be able to just pick up and move. However, when it comes to selling experiences, we do always work with them on their space, and we'll actually have them send us dimensions, and we will design it around their space, alter if there's a puzzle that they don't like, if there's a puzzle that won't work due to ceiling height specifically. That was an issue with our Cell of Bros. There's always opportunity to adjust. We don't build anything in-house modularly for that model as of yet, but it's always a goal to be able to have an iteration of it that can be produced elsewhere.
That makes sense. Escapegoat was one of the early iconic Orlando area escape room companies. It was a lovingly low-key venue with thoughtfully designed, playful games run by a very sweet family who recently put it up on the market, and you purchased it.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about that process.
The process was
Quick.
Super fluid. What a wonderful family. Oh my goodness.
So sweet.
So sweet. It was formal, but also a little informal. We were super flexible. I did learn about contracts in school a little bit. And I have grown upon contracts a lot. And actually at Recon, you guys had a wonderful presenter on contracts.
Victor and Francine from Sherlock.
Yes. Contracts, so important. And I created a contract for that, and it was super fluid. They made their critiques with timing and everything like that. And honestly, I have no complaints except with Facebook because they won't change the page name. Other than that, though, it was a super fluid process. We had a 30-day due diligence period with their final day operating a scapegoat on the 22nd, and we took over for our changes on September 23rd. So the store is now open under Escape Ventures with a new lobby, some very minor tweaks to the experiences with new intros into the experience as well.
Okay, so you bought a scapegoat and you are using your branding for the location. Now, have you made a lot of changes to fit the games into your house style?
I'd say the biggest thing for us, and it goes back to the very beginning with Bros, is the biggest compliment we got was it just flows super well. And I think when we replayed the experiences, at the end of the day, the puzzles and creativity of a scapegoat, I will stand by, is some of the best we've ever experienced, that we did not want to take that and ruin it. So we were very much taking what they had already created, the beautiful experiences, the creative puzzle lines, fun stories, and we just wanted to polish them up. So it was essentially just a reworking of puzzle flow, added new sound design. That was the main goal for CJ. And then for me, working with our graphics lead to do just a couple tweaks on all the printed paperwork, any graphics inside the rooms, the logos for the experiences, more just about polishing what was already there.
We're really big on like voice acting as your game master. We don't really want you to think of us as your game master. We really want you to feel like we're a part of your story. So adding that into the experience as well in some way, which we're still going to be working on now that we are open, is something that will continue to get better as we get to learn. But eventually all those experiences will be removed over the coming years. So it's been a very good process, and we're excited for people to, if they haven't played them, we're excited to have them in. And we've had a lot of people super curious that have played 3, 4, 5 years ago that have also messaged us interest on playing because they don't even remember.
I definitely don't remember the details of those games. It's been a minute.
It's tough sometimes.
I can tell you that in our Patreon Discord, when people saw that a scapegoat was up for sale, there was a lot of chatter like, oh my gosh, I really hope somebody buys it. These are wonderful games. They should not go away. And then when they saw that Escape Ventures had bought them, there was cheering in the Discord, let me tell you.
I think I may have speculated that you were going to be the buyers.
Yeah.
Anyone that sees, I don't do it because CJ's the like crazy get it while it's hot. But anyone that sees an escape room in Florida that's up for sale, you're going to scroll and see CJ's comment that's PM sent, DM sent, and everyone's, okay, they're already in the works.
I buy and sell escape rooms with other clients as well. So this one I was a little bit more personal with. We really were looking for a third location, and it worked out very, very well.
I am very glad that company was purchased by responsible, capable buyers.
Us too.
Time will tell. Time will tell what we actually were able to do and keep it up.
Working with your partner can be wonderful and confounding. Curtis, what's something about the way that Derek works that still surprises you? And Derek, I'm going to be asking you the same question in a moment.
Okay, I'll think.
I am always surprised with how much is thrown on him by me, by the team, by Nana, that he still gets it done. And we may go over our timeline a little bit, but he's usually right there to bat and be like, I got it, relax. And so, yeah, sometimes we'll be in a heated argument. I'll lay down and be like, dang, he still got it done, though. That's pretty good. A scapegoat was a great thing where we did a full lobby revamp in technically 5 days, and he got it done. Right before we came for this podcast, he was mopping it, and I said, Derek, we gotta go.
And I said, pick up a broom and
help.
5 days, that is a superpower. Holy moly.
It was an experience. Once again, not just us, incredible team was helping us. But
my family was supposed to come visit, and I said, it's not going to work this weekend. And they said, okay. And I said, unless. And they said, okay, we're on our way. And I said, great. So everyone pulls their weight. Our families sometimes also step in, and we are so thankful because at the end of the day, I am the person that I will choose not to sleep. If I need to stay at the business and meet a deadline, I will be on site for 42 hours. You know, it's happened before. If I see a deadline, I have to meet it. I have my lists on my phone. I have all these things in the back of my mind, future projects that I'm thinking about, that it's just always go, go, go. And I think our passion hopefully always shows through. But at the end of the day, I'm always the polisher when he's like, no one's going to see that. And I'm like, I'm not going to be able to sleep at night unless I do this. I need to color match this one screw.
All right. So Derek, how about you?
For me, I think it's been great since Port Charlotte. We started in one place, which was Bros for Life. And obviously, always talking about that, we always go back to what we would do if we knew things now. CJ got a business degree, and every day it is put into practice. But outside of that, when it comes to working on a new experience, he works just as equally incredibly fast when it comes to putting together soundscapes, putting together an idea that I have and making it come to fruition. That's ultimately up to him when it comes to, hey, CJ, I have this visual effect, this lighting effect that's going to be so crucial to this puzzle, to this story. And I will throw that equally back at him. And it's been a little bit of a process of like, I don't think I can make that happen. But as he's learned and developed, he is great about tell me your idea and I'll make it happen. And I think as an artist, sometimes that's a tough constraint of it's not possible. But I feel so important for any design process, any new development of product. It's so important to have an idea and don't limit yourself to the possibilities, because possibilities are endless. And sometimes you got to get creative, but at the end of the day, he makes it happen. And I admire that because so many times in Port Charlotte was I like, hey, this is so crucial. At the end of the day, it maybe wasn't that crucial, but for me, it was crucial because it was written. And he would make it happen and say, okay, Derek, and I'm like in the middle of painting a rock or writing a puzzle down and making sure that the gameplay follows suit what just got implemented. And he's like, I need you to watch this. And he'll like casually pull me over and press a button to start it. And then I'll see it. And it blows my mind. It's so crazy that he didn't say no to it. He will say no sometimes, but the great majority of the time it's, I don't know how I can make that happen, but if I can't make it happen, I'll reach out to some other sources and we'll pull it out.
Curtis, along with your grandmother, you recently opened a trading card and tabletop gaming store called Geeked Orlando, a few doors down from your Orlando location of the Escape Ventures. I've been dying to hear this story.
We were down in Port Charlotte, and my best friend came down for my birthday. She came down to hang out with us for the weekend, and she had just got addicted to Pokemon cards again after all these years. So she's like, CJ, we should go Pokemon hunting. And I'm like, okay, we drove for like 4 hours to all the Targets and Walmarts and Walgreens and thrift shops looking for Pokemon cards. And I did have a lot of fun. So I partaked, and I'm like, okay, cool. This is bringing back childhood memories. I was a Pokemon kid growing up. My Nana had always bought me Pokemon cards too.
Nostalgia's a hell of a drug.
It really is. It's addicting. That's why our escape rooms are so addicting. Anyways, we were at the dinner table and Nicole's opening up her cards and Nana sat down and is like, what are you guys doing? And that is where her addiction began, where Nana fell in love with Pokemon cards. She's got to catch them all. Next thing you know, we were building out Escape Ventures, going Pokemon hunting, and Nicole, Derek, Nana, and I were all chilling at a dinner table, and Nana was like, we should open up our own card store. That'd be a lot of fun, right? And I'm like, yeah, it kind of would be. We're pretty good at this business thing. We should try it. So
and why not throw one more thing?
Why not?
You guys are bonkers. You're just certifiably insane.
Literally. Nana and I actually have this going joke where as soon as we are about to end a project, we start something else. So at the end of Nightfall, we signed the lease for Geeked. That was end of April. So we signed the lease to open up Geeked after the very quick time of Pokemon hunting.
How is that going? This is a famously difficult business to work in. It was actually my first job was working at a trading card store.
We are doing extremely well.
Fantastic.
I am way more hands off. That is Nana's baby. We were there in the beginning. Derek helped design the aesthetics of it. What we think super important with really any business nowadays is to make it immersive, make an environment that people do want to hang out in. Don't just go in, paint the walls white, put some tables and chairs in there anymore. How do we create an environment that kind of tells its own story, but people want to stay and spend money? So when it came to Geeked, that was very important when Nana and I sat down with Derek and was like, this is kind of what we want to go for. And by go for, Nana and I were on completely different sides of the universe, and Derek had to bring us into the same lane. And it came together beautifully. And we have a beautiful card shop that's always packed and is busier than our escape rooms most of the time.
Amazing. Looking at the photos, it looks like you're doing it right. We can talk more about this in the bonus show, but
okay, great.
It was really just... what a wholesome story.
Yeah, we would love to open up a second Geeked with a fourth Escape Ventures thing in one big building, but we'll see what happens in the future.
But to give fully credit to his Nana, CJ, the general manager, Nicole, his best friend, and our graphics lead, his brother, like our team fully went over there to bring this to life. And just like our deadlines of 3 months to build that business.
Whole entire business in 3 months, from name, branding,
stocking,
building, stocking. Oh, we built everything custom. 3 months. PG, mark it down.
Yeah, I am so impressed.
It's unbelievable.
So if anybody wants to reach out to you, what's the best way for people to contact you or to follow you on social media?
We're the easiest people to get a hold of.
We're very easy to get a hold of.
If we're not swamped. Curtis at theescapeventures.com and or Derek, DEREK, at theescapeventures.com are usually our go-tos. We see those emails, we favorite them. If it's in any relation to designing, consultation, help, we are not, listen, there's a lot of consultants out there. And some are great and some are not so great. But the great ones that I've met, and just like us, is we're not nickel and diming you. If you have a quick question that's like, hey, my escape room hasn't really made any sales the past 6 months, I'm not going to charge you $1,000 to tell you. I'm going to say, hey, I went ahead and looked at everything. Give this a shot. Let me know how it goes. And if it does help, let's talk later. And if it doesn't, let me know.
Or even like, I have a game that I want to design that's this. Any ideas on how I can make this happen? A puzzle, a prop, etc. Like, we love being collaborative, and I think emailing us is a great way to just reach out. In the beginning, we were so small, and so many of our longtime enthusiasts that have been with us since the beginning of Escape Ventures and Bros for Life, we chat almost weekly on, or daily sometimes, on Instagram at the Escape Ventures on Instagram. We get personal messages on Facebook. It's great. Sometimes it's, hey, so sorry, we were building for 14 hours. We have to jump on to something else. But while I'm in passing, here's a quick response.
Literally. So yeah.
All right. I'll have that in the show notes for everybody. And then, okay, so this next question might very well be obsolete by the time this episode airs due to the rapid pace at which you guys are building. What is coming next for you?
Orlando has been really quiet lately, in our opinion. For us, a year is way too long to not open a new game. So something absolutely terrifyingly wonderful is coming. I hope so, at least.
Okay, something spooky.
Something spooky. Our biggest project yet and our most suspenseful project is in the works for spooky season, though.
In a new space or taking the place of one of your games?
New space.
Okay, so you're just slowly taking over that whole building.
Our landlord loves us.
I bet.
Yes.
Yes. We have had a space next door for about 2 years. It's been functioning as storage. And over the past couple of months, we've slowly been condensing and prepping for a project that's been touched on design-wise for about 6 months now. But over the next couple of weeks, it's really going to be full speed.
If you ever play Nightfall, there's a wonderful Easter egg inside of that game for this game.
I'll play it at some point.
The new game will probably be out by then. But that's our first project that we're tackling. However, over on International Drive, we do have a new experience that we're collaborating on. It has officially been announced. It is called Echoes at Murder Heights. That will be opening this fall very soon. We're now switching focus to that. Now that Escape Ventures Winter Garden is open, that'll be the very first project. 6 games soon after that. And then we have a 4th game that is in the works for Port Charlotte with an expansion down there as well. Not replacing.
Unbelievable. Derek, Curtis, thank you both for joining us. Thank you for bringing your just infectious energy. And I am truly in awe of the pace and the quality that you are producing at. I don't really know of anyone who is doing it this way, and it is inspiring to me. I hope that it is inspiring to others. I just hold your work in such high regard and cannot wait to see what you and your team develop into as you just keep on building up this body of work and experience, because it feels like you're just getting started, and that is insane.
It really does. And those words are seriously so kind, because we never thought 6 years ago we'd be where we're at today. But every new adventure with our team is just something so exciting and inspiring. And we hope to continue it on for the next foreseeable few years. But we'll see. Every day is something new.
We hope that everything we do shows that we really do love the industry, and however the industry continues to evolve, just know that the Escape Ventures will always do its best to be a good supporter behind it, put out products that maybe push the boundary of what an escape room is, and or gives people just something to enjoy for years to come. So we're excited to keep releasing some new stuff.
This episode of Reality Escape Pod is produced by Teresa Piazza with support by Lisa Spira, Matthew Stein, and Richard Burns. We're edited by Steve Ewing of Stand Inside Media, music by Ryan Elder, logo by Janine Proct, and all of this is brought to you by RoomEscapeArtist.com, your home for well-researched, rational, and reasonably humorous escape room and immersive gaming content and events. Reality Escape Pod is mainly supported by Patreon backers. Creating these episodes takes a lot of time, care, and money. We're invested in creating a robust community of creators and enthusiasts, and we need your help. A lot of big content creators, they reach a point where their Patreon is so big that they don't know who is joining. I promise you, we are aware every single time someone backs us. We know who our long-term backers are. We send out handwritten letters, wax sealed by hand, to every single person who backs us on Patreon. We as a team celebrate every single person who joins because it means so much to us. The ongoing support that we get from our patrons is everything. It is so hard building a media business in this era, and we are only able to do it because of the continued support of so many wonderful people. And if you have not yet joined, I hope that you can consider it if it's something that you can afford. And for everybody who is supporting, we do provide a lot of extra content that we put a lot of love into. Every single episode has a bonus after show. In between seasons, we also make extra bonus content that only goes out to patrons. And we also have, for our higher level supporters, the Spoilers Club, where we dig deep into escape rooms and talk about everything that went into the making of them, the running of them, and the behind the scenes with the creators. Both shows are a labor of love, just like the one that you just listened to. To learn more, visit patreon.com/roomescapeartist. Link and details in the show notes. I would also like to thank our highest level Patreon supporters: Karen, Byron Delmonico, Mark from Keystone Escape Games, Paula Swan, Rex Miller, Chris Laughlin, Panic Room, Pat at Olivier Escape, Escaparium, Breakout Games, and Derek Tam. Thank you for your ongoing support. If you're looking for a way to support Reality Escape Pod that doesn't cost a dime, go on to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and leave us a 5-star review. Bonus points if you say some kind words. We put so much love into every single episode, and it means the world when you tell other people that this show is worth listening to. There's a lot of podcasts out there, and social proof matters. Your words matter. They help us immensely.
I have a funny story of how I knew that we were on the right track to be super immersive escape room designers.
Let's hear it.
I didn't tell Derek I was going to tell this story, so it'll be a shock to all of us. We brought our beautiful son, Blitz, he's a puppy, over to the Escape Ventures while we were doing a final walkthrough, and he went into Bros and proceeded to use the bathroom in Bros because it just felt like a park. So
totally immersive.
that's how we knew we were on the right path of building an immersive environment, because he never goes inside, but as soon as he went in there, he
walked
felt
in,
it.
and he looked up and he said, damn,
This is a
I can be
bathroom.
here.
This is the bathroom.
Puppy approved.
Yes.
Yes.
Puppy approved.